Stock combat reload with a rifle. I'm good with that. All right, fellas, we had a conversation the other day running you guys through the check drill and some of the manipulations I was talking about. Got a lot of questions in the comment section. First one, why are you manipulating the safety on a combat reload? And I don't want this to get lost in translation, so I'm just going to say this. The information we're putting out is for the masses. It's for everyone. It's for the guy with 100 rounds out of the carbine or 100,000 rounds out of the carbine. And the difference is, you know when you can skip some steps. What I don't want to do is tell you to blow off the safety manipulation on combat reloads in the infancy and as you're building your foundation, because a lot of guys don't realize how unaware they are with their trigger finger. And what we see a lot is people get really, really fast on dropping that trigger and making contact. Now as they go to drop that new mag, they send the bolt home, they've already applied pressure to the trigger and they end up cracking one off in the ceiling or way over the berm. Seen it countless times, and that's really what we're trying to avoid. So as we break this thing down, we do want you to manipulate it. We make all the guys do it, and then at a certain point, when you've ascended and you can do these things in time and space, you can drop that off. In a real engagement, would I manipulate the safety? No, and I haven't. But I've also got a shit ton of reps of manipulating my safety over and over, and I know exactly when to do it and when not to do it. There's a time to combat reload. There's also a time to transition. There's also a time to do a tap rack bang really, really fast. There's also a time in that same distance where instead of a tap rack bang, I'm just gonna transition to a pistol. And until you know what to do and how to feather that approach, a lot of times you become victims of your own success. And that's what we don't wanna have happen now. I'm gonna demo a couple and I'm gonna walk you guys through the thought process and kind of why we say manipulate the safety first, especially in the foundation. Once you understand all the rules, you can break them, but not until then. We gotta stick with the progression. We'll jump back on, we'll shoot a couple. All right, got one in the carbine, empty magazine, got a speed reload. I'm gonna walk through it nice and slow so we can talk about it and why I'm having you guys manipulate the safety for the initial install. Start from any kind of ready position you want to, bring it up, safety fire. I feel the bolt lock, I can feel spongy trigger. What we're saying is to put it on safe, break the weapon down, drop the old mag, bring in the new one. And we say that because if you don't, a lot of times guys get in this situation, boom, it goes spongy trigger. They drop the mag, they immediately put it back on. They grab the new mag, they send it home, they send the bolt, and they do that. Goes right over top of the berm. I've seen it in the shoot house, I've seen it in all types of configuration. It's because on their initial install, they have not developed trigger finger discipline. That's what we're trying to avoid. We want you guys to be able to manipulate this thing. It's not gonna make you any slower, especially if you burn the actual reps. And that's a lot of stuff we're trying to get. If you don't have a coach over there, you don't have an instructor that's eyeballing you during this foundational process, you'll start to skip steps, and that's what we don't want. That's really how accidents happen. So for all you guys, we bring it out, boom, we feel spongy trigger, manipulate the safety and drop it. It's not any slower. What we're trying to avoid is for you guys doing this, dropping the mag, I get my new one, I put it inside, and by the time I get back out, I've already cranked one over the berm. So I'll run one real slow. We get the hair, we're on fire, boom, spongy trigger. I manipulate my safety, I drop it, it's inside my workspace. My eyes feather from the target to the magazine well. I watch it seat, my fingers long on the edge of the frame. Big thumb goes over, bolt release, my eyes threat back over to the target, right where I want the red dot to end up, manipulate my safety, make contact, fire my shot. Put it back on safe and repeat. Do one more of these. We'll manipulate it one more time. Come up, fire. My finger never came in and around the space so I don't have to manipulate it. But that's because I'm so aware of what this thing is doing. It's not gonna make you slower, it's gonna make you that much more aware. And then when you start teaching guys, that's a tell-all. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for these guys to make those subtle little mistakes that really inside of a CQB range, inside of an actual tactical event, you can't have that, man. Guys run around, guys are at high port, you're at this mid range where you're hauling ass, there's people moving in and around, you drop that finger on and slam one home, you send a bolt home, you're never gonna get that round back, man. That's why we tell everybody just to slow down. Be comfortable with manipulating this. It's not any slower, you just have to hammer it home every single time. It's no different, you'll see guys on the initial install, we'll do time drills from the low ready and you'll watch guys do this. They'll put it on fire like I don't see it, and they'll try to take their finger and cover it up just enough so I don't see it's already on fire. They think it's faster to take a shot. You can manipulate this thing just as fast by actually manipulating the safety It's the same speed. You're only cheating yourself. Nobody's running around on fire making contact with the trigger. Stop cheating yourself and just work through some of the mechanics. You got anything to add?
Biggest thing is that initial install, right? You want to be able to be trainable, and that's one of the things they hammered on during the initial part of buds, initial part of selection, is that safety manipulation. They want to make sure, A, that you're trainable, and B, you know how to adapt when you need to adapt. So this whole additive like, oh, it's faster, oh, I can't or can, you're going to learn so much in the tactical realm, in the professional world, where you need those small nuances to be automatic. I still manipulate the safety. It's a rare instance where I don't. It's either I always try to attempt it and I may miss it, but just for that reason only, with all the chaos going on, you need some muscle memory and some installs that help you, A, be safe around your brothers so you don't actually send one off and hurt one of those guys without meaning to, and B, it makes you that much more trainable. Like, it shows that you are paying attention to the finer details, because the details are what matter.
Well said. Some of the other times that we talk about actual reality, actually being around in gunfights and everything else, if I bring this thing out and I feel that, more often than not, I'm moving as fast as I can. I'm going to drop this magazine, but I have manipulated my safety selector. It's still on fire right now. I'm diving in position to cover. Everybody's making moves. I jam this thing back home. I send my bolt, and I'm still on fire. Yeah, it's in a safe direction now, but if I don't realize it's not, a lot of times dudes grab it in this configuration. We start running at full speed. It's still on fire. I haven't manipulated anything, and that's because I'm so overcome by events. So if you don't make that muscle memory to be able to understand in time and space when to manipulate this thing, because that's your foundation, you'll blow it off, dude. I've seen it millions of times. I know you have too. And it's not that it's unsafe for the high-end end user who does this all day long. It's no different than skydiving. Until you have that foundation established, you just don't have it, man. And a lot of times you get overcome by events, and that's what we're trying to avoid now. Would I do it in combat inside of a realistic range? I wouldn't, but I also know exactly when I'm going to do it and when I'm not going to do it. You have to be able to, thread that needle, and really it's building that foundation from the ground up, not compromising anything, because you're trying to shave off a second and a half here or there. To me, that's just not anything we should be trying to do. Let's do
the
one
biggest
more
thing with safety is it should feel awkward. It should be intentional with you not hitting that thing. Like, if it doesn't feel weird, you should always know in the back of your mind, hey, I didn't hit that safety. In that dynamic environment, you don't want the vice versa, because if you don't know the condition of your weapon, which is this rule number one with weapons handling, right? Always know the condition of your weapon. Is that thing on safe for fire? Like, when I miss that safety, I know it. It's eating at the back of my head. It's like one of those things like driving at high speeds without a seatbelt. Like, you can do it, yeah, but at the same time, like, maybe I should put that seatbelt on when I get that first chance to.
And some of that we'll talk about. I'll do one more. I'll bring you around this side. I'll kind of just show you where I put my thumbs just to make sure it's repeatable. But again, I immediately drop it. It's on safe now. I reach out my new one. My eyes have threaded down the magazine well. Sit my bolt home. Back on safe again. Jared, if you want to come around this side, I'll show you. I just want you to watch this. So as I prep that safety selector, that's the position of my thumb. It's not cocked over to where I drop it down. I've got it pressed in at 90 degrees. I've got my finger long, not on the magazine release, but on that little notch right above it, and I've got some downward pressure on that index finger. So when I do it, it's a simultaneous nature. I bring it up, I've already made the decision I'm gonna fire. My OODA loop's already processing. I bring it up, that spring tension on that safety selector, so as it comes up, that's my move. I've got a Geisley 2-stage, so I take up that first stage right away. That. Right now, my thumb is hooked on that. When I remove my trigger finger, I've got side pressure on my thumb, and that's how I bring it up. So from there to that, then I immediately drop it. So my finger's threading from here. As soon as I break it out, my finger's going long, and it's going right on the magazine release. So from there to there, there to there. Boom, 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 on fire, old mag out, new mag in, seat it, remanipulate my safety, fire my shot. Spring tension is right there. You got to get really, really good at manipulating that thing in time and space and understanding exactly when you've hit it and when you're not. That's why I'm not a big fan of the 45-degree safeties. I feel like I always miss it. It doesn't give me the confidence. I like a 90-degree. That's why I don't run ambi safeties. I like to have my whole process clean on both sides. That's right where my trigger finger sets, and if I'm running that ambi safety, I have to reconfigure my grip just enough to where it doesn't feel optimal for me. That's the only reason I don't run it. Not that ambi safeties aren't great for everybody else, just for me personally, that's why I don't run them. I like having a slick down setup that feels repeatable every single time I shoot it. So for all the guys who are asking questions, do we manipulate the safety on combat reload? On the initial install, until you burn thousands and thousands of reps, until you absolutely know every single time this thing is on fire or on safe, manipulate the safety. There's a time and place to break the rules, and in your foundational process, in my opinion, it's not one of them. Hammer on the flat range, fellas. Let us know how you're doing. We'll talk soon.